Are you in your first 5 years as a financial advisor or a financial planner, and you're either stressed out, burnt out, or trying to figure out how to make it all work? Life, career, growing this new practice, figuring out your compensation, figuring out who to deal with in compliance, what notes do you have to put in, who do you connect with, how to network properly? I mean, it's a lot. And then play psychologist in your client meetings. Nobody ever quite prepared you for these things, right? They just probably talked about how you could have a more financially free lifestyle, time flexibility, and those all are possible. But there's some things, some patterns that I've seen in the first 5 years, especially what we call rookie advisors, that most people go through. And I say this in terms of internationally in financial services. Now, that doesn't have to be you, and I'm making this short video to walk through my top 10 mistakes that I see rookie advisors make and what to do instead to build a sustainable, authentic practice so that you can have trusting relationships and good connections with not just your clients and prospects, but also your business partners, your referral networks, your centers of influence. We call those COIs, but also a good relationship and a balance for your life. Because why are we getting into this business if not for that, right? And also with your family. Like there's a lot of elements to this. You are the human behind the business. So we really want to make sure that we look at that aspect of being an entrepreneur and a business owner and not just about sales and targets and commissions and incentives and trips and all of those things, that perks that come with it, right? So let's dive in. I'm going to talk about my top 10 mistakes I see rookie advisors make and what to do instead. Number one, Number one mistake that I see rookie advisors make, trying to copy someone else's process, someone else's sales process. So if you've been in this industry in your first couple of years, for sure, you've very likely been introduced to a top producer in the company that you work with, maybe a couple of them. You've maybe been to a conference, a summit, some form of training where you've heard from some of your top producers and what they do. Maybe you've been introduced to some of those people. Maybe it's in your own company, maybe it's through other people. And those conversations are inspiring and enlightening and insightful. And then we try to copy what they did. But here's the thing, you're a completely different person with unique experiences, skills, insights, and instincts, instinctive strengths. And when you try to copy someone else's sales process, there's a couple things that come up. One, you're not the same person as they are. You didn't have the same history, the same family, the same journey to get to where you are today. But also, you don't have all the steps that they did in order to get to where they are. Meaning that sometimes they had to learn some of their mistakes their way, right? They had to try different things in order to figure out what's right for them. Well, in order for you to figure out what's right for you, you've got to do it your way, not someone else's way. So while you may try to copy someone else's sales process for a day, a week, and it might work, long term, it just doesn't seem to click. And then we're back to the drawing board and trying to figure out, how do I make this work for me? Well, there is a way that you naturally connect. You naturally build solutions and sales into your practice, the way that you serve people. That's why there are so many different kinds of advisors and planners, because people need you, and you are different than the next advisor and planner. Now, this kind of leads me into a small tangent, but it comes down to, you may have heard the phrase imposter syndrome, right? Well, why would somebody come to me? I mean, there's so many advisors and planners out there. Yes, and you are a unique individual with your unique experiences, your unique values, insights, family dynamics. People are looking for the strengths and the skills that you have, but also the experiences and the wisdom and insight that you have. So wherever you are in your life's journey, you are able to serve others who are just a little bit behind to you. And in order to do that, you've really got to lean in to who you are, not copying somebody else's process. Now, you can definitely gain some interesting insights and some learnings, but ultimately, you're going to have to do it your way in order to have a sustainable and successful practice that feels right for you. Number two, believing a one-size-fits-all training will work for you. There is endless opportunity for trainings that are available. Some places have trainings nonstop, multiple times a week, and other places might barely have them at all. But here's the thing. If you know how you instinctively work, you're going to know how to integrate the training and the learning that you're getting to work for you and how you need to put it into play into your business and your practice. They might teach you a formula and a framework that was kind of a generic framework because they know that not everything works exactly the same way for everybody. Depending on who your clients are, depending on who you're serving in your community, depending on their needs, and depending on your strengths and your abilities and experience, and how you connect with people and how they connect with you, the training is going to have to be assimilated in a way that works for you. And you're going to process it and absorb it in a completely different way than the person next to you. So while attending some trainings is great, knowing how to make them work, knowing what learnings to take and how to make them work for the people that you serve, that's where the magic really is. So you've got to figure out what's your unique approach, what are your unique instinctive strengths. These are some of the things that we actually work on in my Rookie Advisor Mentorship Program. That's a 6-month intensive. And so if you want some help with that to really dive in, go and check that out. You've got to really create a plan and really do the work. And this takes some time to reflect and really look back at some of the transferable skills that you brought into this industry. What are the things that you were successful at? What made you successful in those things that you're able to bring into this industry, into this role that you've got into this business, right? What made you great at your past experiences, how you were in the community? You don't need to fit the mold. You're not a one size fits all person either, right? So you're not there to serve everybody and anybody. You are there to serve the people that are right for you. And so you got to set yourself up in a way where the right people find you based on what you're naturally great at, based on your experiences, who you are in the community, the communities that you serve. So it's really up to you, the individual, to figure out, based on the training that you're receiving, what parts of this training can really serve your practice and your clients. Number 3, confusing activity with productivity. Now, this is a big one. I see this all the time, and not just in this business, not just in financial services, but in business owners and entrepreneurs in general. When they're busy being busy, and maybe you feel this way. I've definitely been there where I feel like, oh, I've got to go to this meeting, I've got to go to that meeting, I've got this training, I've got this networking, and I've got this client prospect meeting. And at the end of the month, you kind of look and say, where did all my time go? What are the results? I feel like I'm doing some great things, but the income is not there as I expected it to be. Or I feel like I don't have any second or third meetings with clients. So I had some great initial meetings, but it kind of petered off after that. Well, here's the thing. You might be spending your days entering notes and updating your CRM and updating documentation and beneficiary changes and all of those things, attending meetings and maybe even researching and trying to learn a product, but you're not moving relationships forward. And at the end of the day, that relationship is what's going to support the growth of your practice, the growth of your relationships. So, what to do instead is focus on what actually drives your business: meaningful connections, follow ups, and those have to be strategically planned and booked. And you've got to write these things down. They can't just all stay in here, right? Because this is not completely reliable, right? Your brain can only take so much and remember everything. And especially when you're trying to build up and grow a practice, your brain is going to be overwhelmed unless you know what you need to do. And we deal with that in my rookie program. But also consistency and the tracking done your way is what's going to help you really figure out what activity is actually productive versus getting busy being busy. Number 4, thinking that past success automatically guarantees future results. Not the case. Your skills from other careers may be transferable and they may definitely give you an advantage in some areas, but this industry is a really unique industry. I mean, I've been doing this for over 20 plus years. My dad was an advisor before me. I mean, not much has changed in terms of the training and some of the systems, which thankfully they're getting updated now, but there's so much to deal with. And in your first 5 years, you're drinking out of a fire hose. And that's because you are getting some initial training, but your leaders, your trainers, maybe practice management, if you get a chance to connect with them, your carrier relationships, with the different companies that you might put solutions through with, all of those things are things you have to deal with on an ongoing basis. And then you have all the client relation stuff, right? The compliance, the regulations, the product knowledge, the how to have a client meeting, what to speak about. Definitely, you're not going to do a get to know them and sell them all in one meeting. That is not the way to make consistent, connective, trusting relationships with your clients, right? Now, whether you've had a past success in a previous career, or maybe you had some great success in your first year, and suddenly you're struggling to create that consistency over and over again, past success does not guarantee future results. Just like when you talk about investments, historical returns don't guarantee future returns, right? So here's what you do instead. Embrace beginner's curiosity, and not just for your first 5 years, but for your entire entrepreneurial journey. That's right. Embrace beginner's mindset. That curiosity will get you so much further. And what I mean by that is there's going to be lots of times where you're going to have resistance. You're going to have delays. You're going to have follow-up emails because you didn't quite get all the answers that you need, whether for yourself or for your client or for a business networking partnership. And what I encourage you to do instead of getting all frustrated, because it's easy to do in this industry, is just to ask yourself, what have I learned from this? Because you will always be learning and refining and tweaking constantly. That's why when you talk to the top producers, they're at the point where they went through all of this and refined and tweaked and everything. Now, do you have to go through everything that they already went through? No. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I have my Rookie Advisor Mentorship Program, is to help you shortcut a lot of these learnings that take people years, usually, to figure out, and accelerate the growth of your practice and your ability to do what you do best, which is connecting with people, supporting them in the way that you naturally do well, and really educating people on financial planning, investments, insurance, protecting their families, protecting their businesses. That's where you're great at, especially in the beginning. You don't have an assistant, very likely. You're doing everything yourself. Embrace the curiosity mindset. When you are putting yourself in a position of, okay, what have I learned from this? First of all, it puts you in a closer position to gratitude, because we learn a lot from the things that didn't quite go smoothly, right? And then how do we make that better for ourselves next time? How do we make that a better experience for ourselves, for our clients, for our referral partners, for our centers of influence? And that just makes you better and better over time. So while your previous achievements can prove you can succeed again, just not by doing things the exact same way. This is a very unique industry, and there are some things that you're going to have to do differently. You can still use some of your transferable skills, but you need someone to help guide you, to help figure out, yes, this can definitely work. This is definitely something that you can bring into this practice, and why certain things may not work when it comes to things like regulations and compliance and communication, anti-spam legislation, all of those things that we have to deal with that the public doesn't usually get to see, right? These are some of the things that we also deal with in the rookie program. So that was number 4. Number 5, forgetting to anchor to your why. When you're getting in the hustle And yes, I'm calling it hustle. When you're getting into the hustle of trying to grow and build your practice, you get into kind of like a chasing momentum, right? You're chasing the monthly sales targets, you're chasing the incentive, you're chasing the numbers, and you forget why you entered this profession in the first place. Do you remember? What's the story that got you here? Was it a frustration with something you were doing previously? Was it something personal that happened in your life that you thought, you know what, I want to make sure that nobody else ever goes through this again? So I'm going to be that person that's going to help people out. You have your story, your why. That has to stay front and center to your entire process here, your entire journey. Why? Because if you ever talk to some of the biggest, most successful advisors and planners, they're going to tell you how 10, 20 times they wanted to quit this industry. Because yes, it's normal to think that way, right? Especially when you're going to deal with delays and frustration and things that just don't go your way or exactly when you expected them to or how you expected them to. And don't forget the previous point about curiosity and beginner's mindset. But if you have that why, that purpose, that determination will drive you through the hardest of times and will bring you ultimate rewards. If you're always chasing the numbers and you forget your why, you'll feel depleted, burnt out in no time. Never mind trying to make it past, the next 6 months. But if you lose that purpose, that drive that keeps you going, that gives you that grit, because this industry requires grit like nothing else I've seen. But that story that drives your why, you don't want that to fade away. Because without meaning, that motivation fades, that drive fades. Instead, define your personal why. Write it out. You may know it in here, but you've literally got to write it out. Maybe even practice sharing it with others, because the act of saying it and writing it out, it has a bit of a psychological brain reaction that supports you in a positive way. So make your why part of your business plan. It will impact and influence all aspects of your business plan because you're not just doing it for numbers. There's a reason why you're here to educate and support and serve people. And that why really matters. It will drive your networking events and activities. It will drive the people that you connect with to support your clients. It will drive the clients that you come across, because that why, that story will be so powerful and that people will be able to relate to it. And that's why they'll do business with you, not because you know everything about a product, right? Products knowledge is learnable, but your story, that's a lived experience that no one can replace. And that journey is what people connect to. So let your why guide your conversations, your goals, and your priorities. Number 6, operating without accountability or support. Now, hear me out. I know that there's a lot of leaders and internal teams in your company, whether you're in a career sales force company or you're independent. There are some teams and departments and individuals that are there for some support. But the kind of accountability and support I'm talking about is very intensive. Technically, as an advisor and a planner, you're an independent contractor, right? Your independence, though, doesn't need to mean isolation. And yes, this industry can feel very isolating, but it doesn't need to be that way. A big part of the reason why I've set up these mentorship programs, including the Rookie Advisor Mentorship Program and other mentorship programs I've done with growth advisors as well, is for that sense of community. It is a safe place where you can ask questions, learn from each other, keep each other accountable. Because when you have even just one person that you can consistently be accountable to, that accelerates your progress so significantly that when you take a look back to see where you were to where you are now, 6 months later, you wouldn't believe how far you've come. It doesn't feel like it from week to week. You're like, oh, I still didn't get to do this. Well, I did 3 meetings, not 5, but you did 3. And then your next week's goals and that check-in with your accountability partner, which is something I do set up in my mentorship programs, is key. It's been key to my success. People tell me all the time, Annie, you're moving so fast. Like you're doing all these things. One of my big secrets is I have regular accountability meetings. And they're not necessarily with people in my industry because we just don't have a lot of that set up. So this is one of the reasons why I do that in my program. But that level of accountability drives success, 100%. So instead, what to do is surround yourself with an accountability group that supports you, not competes with you, because we don't need that. We're looking for collaboration, community, connection. People who remind you of what's possible when you feel stuck, a place that keeps you on track and empowered, a place that gets you. Number 7, I mean, this cannot be underestimated. Ignoring the emotional work behind the business. This is so key to having a sustainable practice and a business in general. But it is the thing we get trained on the least. In fact, I would say there's hardly any attention paid on this at all as an entrepreneur, but especially as a financial advisor or financial planner. Most advisors are trained on how to have a client meeting to a degree, how to talk about money, how to sell the product, but not about the relationship with money. Your old patterns, fears, scarcity or abundance mindset, but your own patterns, your own fears around money, and we all have them, that can actually sabotage your success. Yes, I know. I have definitely seen some of these patterns in myself. I've seen different patterns in others. I have some great books that I highly recommend in my coaching and mentorship sessions with people in this industry. A lot of the great wisdom and insights that I've gleaned on how to be successful in this industry have actually come outside of this industry. So I do a lot of the work and I go try, a lot of things outside of this industry, and I bring in the best of what I think can help us in this industry because a lot of our training is very limited to products and sales and compliance, right? But not about the relationship, the behavior around money patterns. And if you ever heard me speak in any of my, whether it's my YouTube channel or any keynote speeches I've done or any kind of presentations that I've done, you will have heard me say that your relationship with money is your relationship with yourself. A large part of what we do as advisors and planners is really help people reconcile and maybe even heal their relationship with money. A lot of it comes through education. But if you are operating out of your old patterns that are self-defeating or self-sabotaging, then you're missing a key component that could really get you to self-mastery and success, not just in your business, but also in life. It is a constant evolving work, and it's not something that you can do by yourself. You need a partner, a support, an accountability, a mentor to help you through that. Somebody who's been doing the work, somebody who gets it. I'm a transformational coach as well, so I integrate that into everything that I do. And this is the work that we also do in the Rookie Advisor Mentorship Program. So if you're looking for something that really works on this and the strategic part of your business, then you probably want to go check out that very intensive 6-month program. What this is really calling for is for you to do the inner work. Not everybody's ready for that, and that's okay. I meet you where you're at. So nobody's going to push you to be at a certain destination. The beauty is really in the journey. And you need somebody who's just ahead of you to show you what's possible. And also to hold a space for you while you are processing that. A lot of times, advisors, we don't get to process things in front of others, in front of clients, in front of prospects, and in front of our referral and business partnerships, because we're expected to know everything and have great money relationship and money knowledge and never make money mistakes. And that's just not true. We're human beings and we have our own money relationship that came from our childhood, and some of it's programming and some of it's just things that we observed and experienced, and we interpret it in a certain way that then drove the way that we make decisions. And if you can understand the way that you make money decisions and what influences you, it gives you some insight into how others do that as well. So ignoring the emotional work behind the business, big mistake, because it will show up. It will show up, and it'll show up in something like, I'm making the calls, but I can't figure out why I'm not getting any meetings. Or I'm having some meetings, but I can't seem to close the sale. Or I've been to all these networking events, but I haven't gotten any referrals or any business. These are some of the typical ways that it shows up, but it can show up in really subtle ways too. And so you may actually reject your success before you even get started. And you may do that unconsciously. We want to get to the root of it. What you need to know is that your business grows in proportion to your self awareness. I mean, there's so much I can talk about for this one. It's, I think easily I could do a whole 2 hour session on this, but frankly, the programs I put myself into in terms of the coaching and the transformational work and the neurotransformational work, because I love studying the brain and how it's driving us. And sometimes it thinks it's protecting us, but it's actually leading us astray. And so we need to understand what's happening. But a lot of the programs I put myself into aren't just a 2 hour session. It is constantly evolving, guided work, and it takes months and years. Every advisor says, I want to help people. But how can you help people if you haven't helped yourself? Because it will show up. So do the inner work. If you want some guidance on this, the Rookie Advisor Mentorship Program, it has that integrated into it for sure. A lot of the things you're trying to figure out in your business, it's not about the products, it's not about your CRM, it's not about even the meeting. It's about what's happening here between your ears that's really starting all of that. It's driving it, it's influencing it, it's deciding the outcome of it. And so when you don't do the inner work, between your ears, when you don't do the inner work to reflect on your patterns and your relationship with money, it will come out. It will come out in some way. And if you can get ahead of it, you'll be all the better for it. And so will everybody around you. Number 8, neglecting to build and nurture your network. You probably already have a built-in network. Maybe you don't realize it yet, or maybe you've started to realize some of that, especially if you had a previous career. You've got a built-in network, people that you know. That's what the network is people that you know, people that know you. They know the type of person you are, your values, how you show up. But a lot of people who are starting in this industry are afraid to go there. They're afraid to have that conversation with the people that already know them and trust them, the people that support them and cheer them on and are inspired by you. A lot of times, what I hear from advisors is they're afraid to bother, quote unquote, those people or appear like they're new. The fact is that you've got an entire team of people behind you. But a lot of times we're made to feel like we're on our own. That's a choice. Maybe if you don't have the best support system in the company that you're in, there's might be a couple great people, but if you're not finding this kind of support that you need, well, then you need to go outside of that company for the support. I'm not saying you have to leave the company, but you need to find your support system. That's why I set up the programs that I do, is so that our advisors have a community to come to that is a safe community. And I attract really good people that are genuine, that are integrity based, that are values based, that really care about the people that they serve. And they're just trying to navigate the rest of this industry and this practice, this financial services practice. So what to do instead is to reconnect with authenticity. Just keep being you. Let people know what you're doing and what it means to you. Remember that other point about know your why? Maybe the people that you've worked with in the past, they worked with you in a different capacity, and maybe they didn't really know about your why. There's experiences that you haven't shared with people, and I'm not saying you have to share everything and all the gory details, but people value authenticity. They can relate to your story because they see themselves in your story or aspects of it. So share what you're learning. Show up as a resource, not a salesperson. Something that somebody told me once, which really stayed with me, is that people really want to cheer on the underdog. People want to see and be part of your growth journey. Maybe you figured this out already, but maybe you haven't. Is that you already know more than most people around you. when it comes to money, when it comes to money concepts, strategies, what products are out there, how they work, how they can enhance somebody's life and build legacy and growth. You already know more than most people in your network. You have a network. Nurturing it, it's not about what you know, it's about who you are. And that's what people will remember, that feeling that you left them with. Let people know what is happening with you. And it's okay to kind of, start really basic. Use the words that you feel comfortable with. Some people might be inspired by a script, and other people have to kind of ad-lib it on the spot. It really depends on who you're talking to. But the bottom line is that the networking really starts with you. And people are connecting with you, the human being, not you, the company that you're with, not you, the business that you're running. It's you. You are the person that they're connecting with. And that trust comes with you and how they've interacted with you and how they've seen you be consistent as a person, right? In the way that you show up with them and for them. Number 9, underestimating the power of systems and structure. A lot of advisors and planners in their first few years are constantly in chase mode. Go, 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 go. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this many meetings. I got to qualify for this incentive, that trip, these gifts, these prizes, and monthly sales targets and bonuses, prospecting, CRM notes, networking. All of this is the chase. And then you forget why you got into the profession in the first place. And you're busy being very active, but you're not tracking what is actually bringing you the results you're looking for. And I don't always mean numbers results. I mean depth of relationship, the values that you see in people. You may find a great, super knowledgeable specialist that you would love to work with and refer business back and forth. But if they're not the type of person that values and respects your time and they don't even call you back, is that someone you really want to work with? The tracking and the structure are really key. Now, there's different ways to put this in place for people. And I say this as somebody who's a Kolbe certified consultant as well. And what that basically means is I have a tangible way, a research-backed way that shows me how people instinctively operate. Not everybody operates the same way. I mean, even me and my daughter don't operate in the same way. Do you have a family member that was born in the same household and had the same parents and you're like, how did we end up so different? Yeah, it's because you each operate differently. How you integrate systems and structure is going to look different for all of you, but everybody needs a system and structure to be able to track ultimately what you're trying to measure. And so building some simple systems that reflect your natural strengths, you can start small, track what works, and then let the structure create your freedom. You probably heard how presidents and some uber successful entrepreneurs have simplified some of their systems so that they don't have to make decisions on things like what are they going to wear every day, right? They reduce decision fatigue, right? And when you start to track your results and you have systems that support you in doing that, you're not guessing. You are making calculated decisions because you've got information that's telling you where you're spending your time, how much time, who with, and what's leading you to the goal of supporting the people that you want to support. If you're like me, especially in the past, where I get bright-eyed about the next newest thing and I'm like, ooh, I want to go here, and ooh, I want to talk to this person, and ooh, there's this other event, and ooh, and another conference, and I get inspired by everyone, and then what happened? How did that come into play? Who did I meet? When did we follow up? How did that collaboration go? Did anything come out of it? How much money did I spend? Time did I spend? Energy did I spend? If I said yes to this, what did I say no to? Like a lot of those things don't get accounted for. So allow the structure to create your freedom. It's as simple as that. Now, how you put that into place? Well, that really is the things that we uncover in the program because it's really individual based on you. And last but not least, number 10, forgetting that growth is both external and internal. Now, we touched on this a little bit in a previous point, but the fact is that you can't separate personal development from your business development, your business success. If you don't have the accountability, if you don't have the structure, if you don't have systems in place, if you're not doing the guided inner work as to your own money patterns, you're going to experience the burnout, the self-doubt, and the stress that often comes with misalignment, where your inner strengths and skills versus, the gaps that you're experiencing. If you're in this industry in the first 5 years, you're going to have skill gaps. That's a given. How you get there is a whole nother thing. A lot of people struggle in this. This is one of the patterns that I've seen. A lot of people struggle, and you always feel like you don't know enough and you don't know enough, and you're always in the go, go, go again, right? It's always in the chase mode, which a lot of times is placing you in survival mode, but not in thriving mode. And a lot of people think, well, if once I get there, right? Once I get some consistent income and once I have this many clients or well, the thing is, while you're waiting for the once this happens activity, you are putting yourself in a deficit of energy, focus, connection, maybe even skills. What I suggest instead is keep refining the mindset, energy management, and work on your boundaries. You're not there for all clients, and not all clients are meant to be with you. And also, how you interact and how you serve them requires boundaries, because you're just a person. You're just a human being trying to support others, right? You're not just building a business. You're building a version of yourself that can sustain it. We don't teach or train on rest or checking in with yourself and, how are you doing and what's energizing you and what's draining you. We don't train on that. A lot of that is the internal work to support the external work. A lot of people forget about it until it's too late, or there's some medical issue that comes up, or they're so burnt out that they just, have to take a few weeks off, and then they've lost a bit of momentum and they have to start all over again. And especially when you don't have a team to support you and you're doing everything by yourself, this is one of the most common things that I see, is that burnout, the self-doubt, and the stress. And you may actually have some financial success, but you're still burnt out. You still have self-doubt. And because, by the way, financial success does not equate self-certainty. I know, because I've coached some really big advisors, and there are certain plateaus that you reach throughout your career. So the first 5 years, you have a couple minor plateaus, but around your fourth and fifth year, you hit a big plateau, and you're like, okay, I've done okay, but now how do I leap into the next level? This is also one of the things that's just naturally integrated into the work that we do in the Rookie Advisor Mentorship Program, but really in any of the work that I do with the leaders and advisors in this industry. Just remember that you are not just building a practice to serve others, you are also there to build up yourself. You are there to sustain yourself, support, care for, nurture, and serve you, the human, behind the business. You, the human, the person that is generating all the activity to serve people in your community, to connect with the business partners and referral networks and whatnot. It's you, the human. So if you're not looking after yourself in some very strategic ways, it's going to show up. And you could be the best advisor and planner, but if you don't have the capacity to go on this marathon, then something's going to come up that's going to stop you momentarily. And you get to decide at that point, is this worth it? If there was a way that we could support you so that you catch on to this a little faster and you start to put things in place that supports both you and your practice, would you do it? Or would you wait another 6 months? I can't wait to hear from you about what you thought about this top 10 mistakes that I've seen, the patterns that I've seen in the industry after being in different departments and working at wealth management companies and insurance companies and brokerage firms, and being in the field and in corporate head office and dealing with and coaching with hundreds of advisors in their practices. The bottom line is that you don't need a generic playbook. You need a mentorship that helps you understand yourself, your instincts, your strengths, and your purpose so you can design a business that works for you, not against you. And that's exactly what we do in Profit by Instinct mentorship programs. We translate industry expectations into real sustainable strategies that align with who you are. There is a lot of what you don't know that you don't know. There are definitely some ways to support you and your practice and the people that you want to serve in your community. I look forward to hearing from you, and I hope that this helped you out. I'll see you soon. Take care.